Mike, turn your games down.
Hello there, everybody, to a special episode of Games My Mom, and we're doing another TV special. I am Mike, and who's that old stranger's over there with me tonight?
This is Peter Bingham Pankratz, author of The Fifth Civilization.
And this is first brother Kerry Chandler, Carusetta on Twitch, and reader of The Fifth Civilization, which is an excellent book and everyone needs to go out and buy.
You're too kind.
I haven't finished it yet, but I'm loving it, Peter. It's good stuff.
That makes me happy to hear, Kerry.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the TV series that came out in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been wanting to do this. I mean, this came out in, May was it? Yeah, May, and ended last month, in June.
Was it only that long? It feels like it was months ago.
It kind of does. I actually rewatched it. I watched it as it aired every week, and then I watched it again earlier this week. I watched the whole thing, all 6 episodes in a row, pretty much.
I sort of rewatched it.
You watched a different version of it, though, which I think is... We can talk about real quick, where you watched a fan edit of this.
Yeah. So there is a really cool filmmaker named, what is this? Kai Patterson, Kai Patterson. And you can follow him on TikTok under his name. And I watched his fan edit. He cut it down to 2.5 hours. And he made... if anyone hasn't seen this, I would recommend just watch that, honestly. I think it was better. It fixed pretty much every problem I had with the show and was still like a really good, coherent 2.5 hour film. I watched it sped up even and still felt like it was really good that way. So definitely recommend that. Okay. I could talk about what they changed when we get to those parts. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because again, this was originally supposed to be a movie a long time ago. And then the movie got scrapped.
2013.
Which it shouldn't. I mean, the only reason why the movie even got scrapped was because Solo didn't do as well as they expected.
Yeah, and I feel like Solo didn't do as well as they expected because of The Last Jedi. So
Solo's a good movie.
My belief is that, if you reverse what happened to Solo and Kenobi, if you make Kenobi a movie and Solo a TV series, I think they both would have come out critically and fan. I think they would have come out better if they both.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I think Solo would be a better series anyway. You could have, just Han Solo's adventures, as like a young scoundrel.
Right.
Instead of just a heist movie.
Yeah.
Instead of a movie where we see the origins of everything he owns. Yeah.
Including his name. Yeah, you could have just had like a fun, procedural. I mean, it's like Firefly, but Star Wars.
Yeah. And I think something like Kenobi lends itself well to a movie. And, there's been a fan edit of it, of course. But I feel like as it happens, and I'm sure we'll get to it, it's just kind of stretched out more than it needs to be. And 2 hours or 2.5 hours is a far better time frame for something like this story.
Yeah, honestly, it could have been cut down from that, too.
Right.
So
yeah,
it really could have been a tight 90 minutes and still told the story it told.
Oh, yeah.
You're 100% right, even though I disagree with you because I like what I got, but I do agree with you. You are right.
I liked what I got in the context of a Disney Plus show. I put it, below a WandaVision, above a Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's kind of one of those situations.
Okay.
Where it's good. It's in the middle. I mean, though I like Falcon and Winter Soldier too, but still, it's kind of, it's no Ms. Marvel. It's no Mandalorian. It's eons better than freaking Boba Fett. So
I will agree on that.
That's not a hard bar to climb, though.
No, that it is not.
Oh, so the joke that I wanted to tell you right before, so we started this a few minutes late, but right when I got to I'm in a hotel because I'm in Wisconsin, and I went to my hotel room, we're going in the elevator, and then as we're about to go up in the elevator, we hear some guy talking to the hotel clerk, and he's like, "What do you mean you're not going to extend my stay?" He's like, "Well, they were complaining about the girls." And he's like, "What about the girls?" "I can't tell you." And Tiff's like, let's go. So we're in the elevator, but trying to get on there before we witness an assault. That's what it looked like. And then the irony was that my key didn't work and I had to go back downstairs and then and then luckily the guy was done talking with him and go get my key card refixed so I could get to my room to record this podcast.
Yeah, I worked as a hotel front desk clerk in college, and man, people get wild when they go to hotels.
Yeah, I guess they weren't done.
They did.
Because they were going upstairs into his room for some reason. But I'm like, let's get our room and get out of here.
Yeah, people get crazy with front desk clerks.
Pour one out for the service people in the world.
Yeah.
Plus, as a guy who lives in Minnesota, who's from Milwaukee, being back in Milwaukee, man, people are rude in this city. I forgot how rude they are in this city, Peter. At least in the South Side where I'm at. I almost got ran over in a Walmart. I had to literally grab Tiff's arm and pull her back because they were going to run her over in front of the Walmart.
Well, that's first of all, that's at a Walmart. I mean, there's your first mistake.
I'm from the South. Everyone's really polite. They're just racist and misogynistic and homophobic. But other than that,
hey, as long as you're white,
very polite.
You're fine, right?
Very polite.
Yeah, we can have a discussion about Midwestern values at certain points. I mean, I'm sure the Minnesota to Wisconsin, transition is strange, but
it is. I mean, I'm from here, but I haven't been here since I haven't really been here since I was 18, 19, and I'm 34. Right. It's weird now. I'm like, what?
Well, there's some good people here. There's good people here. So
I know. I was at the ghetto Walmart over on 27th Street for those that are from Milwaukee. So
see, there's your second mistake.
Yeah, that Walmart is bad, really bad. You know your Walmart's bad when your Dove soap is locked up. That's how you know your Walmart's bad.
That's a level of that's a level of crime that.
I was like, why is the Dove soap locked up? Like, I get it, other stuff, but the Dove soap, like, really? You had to lock this up? Okay, Walmart. Okay, and speaking of Obi-Wan.
speaking of
Obi-Wan.
The reason we're here, I had to get that off my chest, though.
Sure.
So, I came into the show, like, I was excited for it when it first came out. I've been waiting for this to happen, and then they did drop 2 episodes on the same day, which I think was a good thing, just to kind of get you, because I think it got postponed a little bit. It was supposed to come out earlier in May, but I'm okay that I don't care they did that. It doesn't matter to me. But I like that they did 2 episodes at once, is what I want to say. Because it give you kind of enough to figure out what was going on in the show. And I feel like the show threw a huge red herring because everybody thought it was supposed to be about Obi-Wan and Luke, and it really isn't. It's about Obi-Wan and Leia, you find out in the first episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't really heard that. Was that like in the trailers they made it sound like that? Or
well, Luke is in the trailer. Leia was not.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think... Was the Leia information, was that like well known before the series came out? I don't know.
As a guy who only watched the trailers and didn't really care anything else, I did not know she was even in the show from the trailers.
Right. Neither did I. I don't know if Kerry, you saw something different before the show, or.
Well, no, I specifically never ever watch trailers for anything I'm remotely interested in. I don't see. I went into The Force Awakens assuming that what's his name? Kylo Ren was Luke Skywalker. That's how much I keep myself in the dark on things I care about.
Wow.
Yeah. I said I went into that the night before I was supposed to see it. The Nerdist posted a screenshot of him without his helmet and ruined it for me. So, but I almost made it to the movie thinking that was going to be Luke Skywalker. So,
oh man,
that would have been better.
I avoid trailers. Oh yeah, that would have been yes. One of many things that would have made those movies better. Anyway, so no, I had no idea Luke. I was hoping Luke wasn't going to be in it at all. I was annoyed by how much he was in it in the first place. So one of the things the fan edit did a good job of was they had one scene with Luke, and that was it. And I thought that was best. So,
I mean, this is mostly a Leia show, and I'm okay with that. I think that makes sense. I know people.
This is a kids show. That's one thing to get across is they really, I feel like the promotional art and what little I did see about it before was like pushing the idea that this is going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi's Mandalorian, right? And it's not. This is live action Star Wars Rebels. This is a kids show for the most part.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like this is very much a kids show.
The way to put it.
If you go into it as like this is a fun kids show, then I think the Leia character was great. I thought the actress did a good job. I feel like, especially under Disney, but even not under Disney, when Lucas was in charge, Star Wars tends to really lean on references to its past, and they get a little heavy-handed with it.
Yes.
And there's literally a thing where he's like, you're 10 now, but you won't be forever. It's like, yeah, no, we get it. We get that in 8 years, she's going to be, yeah, we get it. You don't need to.
They didn't. Yeah, that wasn't necessary. Like, maybe it's something you would say to a 10-year-old, though.
I guess.
I don't know.
But it didn't bother me. She didn't. I thought she was good. And I honestly prefer that to it being a Ben and Luke show because Luke in the first movie, he's barely heard of Obi-Wan. He knows that there's a guy. He knows there's a guy named Ben Kenobi who lives out past the Junlin Waste, and that is all that, as far as we know, has never met him. So for Luke to be in it at all is a little annoying, but if he had been bigger, it would have been bad, I feel like.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's an attempt for me when I was watching this show to kind of, you gotta have to take your headcanon and say, all right, well, whatever you thought was happening, I guess it's just been changed now. And I was trying not to let that wreck it, because there are so many things when I was watching this show and saying, oh, that's not what happened, and that's not what's going on, and
yeah,
I just have to accept it. This is the story now, and this is what people are going to be told, and it doesn't matter what happened in 1977 or whatever anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think on every time we do one of these Star Wars podcasts, we always come up against the issue that the first movie was not meant to be some big giant thing. It was a Flash Gordon spec script that got, the serial numbers filed off and turned into its own thing. And that's all. And then they started building sequels, and the first sequel is the best, my favorite movie that's ever existed. So that's great. But then they just keep going, and we got the prequels, and then as the further we get from 1977, the more that original movie has kind of fallen by the wayside. And you just have to kind of accept that he was not in, Lucas was never intending for this deep backstory to the things he said. The Clone Wars was an offhanded reference. And, Anakin was supposed to just be Luke's father who was murdered by Darth Vader to give Luke motivation. That was it. So, you gotta kind of roll with it, I think.
It doesn't bother me at all.
No, it doesn't bother me either. I mean,
I get it. Like, there's some dumb stuff, so I completely get it.
It bothers me a little bit.
I mean, I think that if we're talking about problems, I think the main problem with this show is just what we've said. It should have been a movie. This is a problem with a lot of stuff in the streaming era is you've got a 2-hour story, but you got to stretch it out to an 8-hour series or a 6-hour series in this case. So you got to pad it. And there's a lot of padding in the show.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not as bad as some other shows, though, with that.
Like Book of Boba Fett. I do like the first episode, though, like where it really kind of shows you how depressed his life is and how depressed he is, where you just, like, he's working on, like, some kind of, like, where they're just cutting up some giant fish or something. And
no, it's a crate dragon.
Oh, it's a crate dragon? Okay.
It's where a crate dragon has died. I mean, I assume that's what it was.
That would make sense. They never say it. But.
I guess they don't say it, but I just assume that's what it was. It has that same general shape and size that we've seen in Mandalorian and other Star Wars media. Yeah, I assume that. I thought it was funny because he every day steals some of the food and no one notices, and he doesn't do it in like a sneaky manner. He stands there right out in the open in front of everyone and steals some. And no one says anything. And I was like, is he doing like a Jedi mind trick to solve this? But we see later that he doesn't really have any control of the Force anymore at this point. He's kind of like fallen out of it. So I don't think he was. I think everyone is just not paying attention to the fact that someone's stealing, which I feel like in that specific job, those guys would be like watching the workers like hawks to make sure they're not stealing.
Yeah.
But anyway, but still, yeah.
Yeah, it was weird to me too, because I mean, well, he cleaned his knife, he's just cleaning his knife. He's not cutting off meat and stealing. No.
Again, if he had done some sleight of hand, it would have been a little bit. But that's a nitpick. I thought it was funny that he does that every day. That is one of the things, by the way, the fan edit just has that happen once. In the show, we see him at that work site at least twice.
Right.
Yeah, we see him twice because it's to show because I think the first scene isn't even Obi-Wan, if I remember correctly. The first scene is the Inquisitors showing up, looking for a Jedi.
Is that first?
Is the first scene is there a younglings? Isn't there a younglings thing?
Oh, yeah, you're right. The first scene is the younglings, where you see the flashback to when Anakin killed everybody because they had to, get Hayden Christensen, get some screen time.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Inquisitors, I believe. But it's been so long. It's been, a month or two since I watched this. So trying to remember.
And I watched the fan edit, which doesn't have that at the beginning. So I'm like, really?
Yeah, I believe we see the Inquisitors, and they're on Tatooine. If not there, then soon enough. There's like a cantina that they come to, and they're looking for, very openly talking about Jedi and where the Jedi are. So what's this supposed to be? 10 years later?
Yeah.
It does kind of bother me, and I have to again dissociate myself from the headcanon, but it seems like they're very open about the Jedi. For somebody, they're trying to hide the Jedi and exterminate the Jedi. They're just telling everybody, random people at this establishment, like, "Oh, do you have a Jedi here? Do you have a Jedi here?" And they're very, very much, reminding people that these things existed, which I thought was strange.
It goes against the other stuff where they're like, Jedi, we never heard of the Jedi before.
Yeah, it seems like even 10 years later, people would be very familiar with the Jedi because these bad guys keep asking about them everywhere they go. And I guess I don't know how the Inquisitors work, though. Do they like follow Force? Like, do they have Force sensitivity? So are they on Tatooine because they go to every planet, or are they on Tatooine because they know somebody's here?
No,
Tatooine, they were there because
why.
somebody called them pretty much.
Yeah, basically they follow rumors of people being helped by wandering strangers.
Okay.
And that bar owner was being harassed by like local crime people, and some random stranger came and helped him. And so then the Inquisitors come because they're like,
okay.
The Jedi hunt themselves. They can't. It's in their nature to try to help.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And so
I like the Inquisitors.
I like the Inquisitors. I thought they were cool. I guess we could mention that these Inquisitors, now, do they show up first in the comics or in Star Wars Rebels?
Rebels is the first appearance, but in Rebels, they only show, in the first season, the Grand Inquisitor, and then they only show 2 other Inquisitors in season 2, and one of them is the guy with the round hat in this show.
Right.
And then the other one is only in Rebels.
It has a mask on the whole time. And it's a woman,
yes.
Right? Yeah. And so I went to Disney I went to Disneyland in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And there's and of course, I'm sure it's completely different now. This is before they had built the Galaxy's Edge thing. But there's like a show that they do every day in Tomorrowland, and where basically an Inquisitor dressed exactly like that character from Rebels comes out and is like hunting for Jedi, and like your kid can go and be part of the show. We tried to get my son to do it, and he was signed up to do it, and he got scared at the last minute and didn't do it. So, but yeah, so I was thinking I was just gonna say, if you've been there, if you've seen that, it's the same costume and everything, or it looks extremely similar. It has that same lightsaber with the circle on it on the hilt.
The Inquisitors were brand new for Rebels, but then they've been included in the Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith comic, which talks about a lot more of them and what happened to some of them. And
they're in some of the video games too.
They're in the Jedi Fallen Order, but they're all pretty much killed off by the time we get to A New Hope. Vader kills a bunch of them off, actually, himself.
Well, yeah, that's got to happen.
So, well, yeah. But yeah. It's interesting. Like, I think I like them as characters. The Grand Inquisitor didn't really need to be in this show at all because it's not really about him. But he's just there for a little bit before he gets a lightsaber through the gut.
Yeah.
Which I still don't understand, but I'll take it.
Well, then Fifth Brother becomes the Grand Inquisitor at the end, and he is in Rebels.
Yes.
Yes.
So is the Grand Inquisitor also.
Okay.
He's in Rebels too. Grand Inquisitor dies in the end of season 1 in Rebels, spoiler, and then the other 2 are only in season 2, and then 3 and 4 are about a different character. And I don't want to spoil it.
And Rebels is taking place like a year after episode 3? Is that right? Or
no, Rebels is much closer to episode 4.
Oh, so it's after this.
It leads up to episode 4. If I remember correctly, the shit that happens in the last season of Rebels is like very getting close to Rogue One in episode 4. If I remember, it's been a while, so I could be off. It could be a little,
so this is in close. Between then. This is kind of like
yeah.
And now is this
because Rebels actually has the final scene of Darth Maul in the storyline, and it wraps up his story and puts a bow on it in Rebels.
Okay. Yeah. So this is taking place 9 years before Battle of Yavin, and then when is Solo? I wonder.
I think it's 10 years. I'm pretty sure. It's concurrent with this, I think.
Which is great when you think about the relationship between Han Solo and Princess Leia. Then,
well,
that's a whole thing, right?
It is.
Yeah,
going there.
Yeah, this is 1 year. Yeah, Solo is 1 year before this.
Ooh. Best not to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
So.
That's not to think about that.
I do like.
I like this first episode.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Again, I feel like it repeats itself too much. Is my only issue with it.
Yeah, I mean they did extend it. I mean I can see because you see that with him being on the planet twice doing the dragon thing, cutting the meat up. You see him go to Owen. I like that scene. He goes to Owen and then he's like, here, where he brought the stuff for the kid and they throw it back at him and be like, get away.
And
you can't see the kid.
This is our first, I would say, kind of bigger Easter egg that most people are going to catch is the toy that he's giving him is the model of the T-16 Skyhopper, which Luke's playing with in A New Hope, in which you flew first in, was it
Rebel Assault?
Rebel Assault? Yeah, you fly one through Beggar's Canyon in Rebel Assault. Yeah. So I thought that was neat, and they kept that in the fan edit. They kept him, bringing the toy and Owen like smashing it. They kept that and they kept the little thing where he's watching Luke like pretend to be a pilot and all that stuff. But
I like that though.
I thought that was good, and then that is the last time you see Luke in the fan edit, which is probably
good. I don't know.
He shows up at the very end. He shows up at the very end again in the fan edit. But what I was going to say, what I thought the fan edit did with the first episode was really good was this is where I felt like it was too repetitive. So we have the first main scene is the Inquisitors go to the bar and they catch the Jedi guy, right? And then later, Obi-Wan...
They spook him.
Oh, they spook him. Okay. She's about to kill him and they're like, no, we can't kill him. And it's like, well, why? Isn't that your whole thing? And in the fan edit, they just kill him there. And then later, that's the dead Jedi that is hanging in the square, only without a head. And so they cut out it because it happens. I mean, basically happens twice.
Yeah.
They almost catch him. Then Obi-Wan finds him. Obi-Wan tells him to bury his lightsaber. Then the next day he gets caught and dies. And they switched it up. They had Obi-Wan. They had a meetup of Obi-Wan in the desert. Then they had that scene, and he dies. And then you see him hanging, and it was like bam, bam, bam. It told the same message, the same story, but with way less chaff, I felt like.
I feel like the point of it was to show like how much he didn't he was trying to divert himself from the Jedi Order and not help people and how like
how much he's
really broken in this. Like he's just really messed up in the beginning of this, and I think that was impressive too.
It makes sense. I feel like Obi-Wan has good reason to be broken in this show or in the Star Wars universe. Like
he does
based on what happens in the prequels. Like, you can definitely lay a lot of the blame on everything that happened on him. Right. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And I thought it made
and that's what I like. I mean, I like that they did a whole episode just having him be, broken and messed up, and I thought it worked well.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that I think you get introduced to Leia in the first episode also. Isn't that when she kidnapped in the first episode? And I love the way they first introduce her, like where the girl's getting ready and you find out it's not Leia, it's somebody else because she switched and ran away.
It makes sense for her personality to do that.
Yeah, and I felt like it might have been a minor callback to the whole thing with Padme in episode 1 too.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. But
that's Padme's like whole twist in the first movie.
I think everything with Leia in the first episode was really good. Like when she thanks the droids and her cousin's like, you don't thank lower life forms. She's like, okay, so I don't have to be nice to you then. Like I love that.
Yeah,
that so good.
I thought that was good. That was one of the things they cut in the fan edit that I would have kept in.
Oh.
But yeah, I liked the little Princess Leia. I felt like it was a good job of showing us this could definitely be the Princess Leia we see in episode 4.
Yeah, it worked well for that.
Yeah.
And I really like her. I really like everything she does. I like the way she acts in the beginning, especially because everything, if I remember correctly, everything leads to her getting kidnapped at the end of the first episode. Correct?
Yes, by Flea.
Mm-hmm.
From Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Which is then, I think also, does Bail come to Obi-Wan the first episode or the second episode then? That he shows up where he tells him I need your help. Okay, so you kidnap Bail shows up.
The very end is Bail asking Obi-Wan for help and Obi-Wan deciding to help. And then he goes
Bail is dead in the original trilogy, right? Like he's dead by then?
Well, no, he gets blown up on Alderaan.
Yeah.
Oh, good point. Point.
I was going to say there's another thing that it's a very minor thing that they cut, but it was the first time watching the show that I went, oh, come on, was when he goes to get on the ship at the end. And she's like, and the woman, like, I guess the captain of the ship is like, well, are you coming? And he's like, yep. And he walks toward the ship and pulls his coat aside so you and everyone else can clearly see he's got a lightsaber hanging from his belt. And it's
at
like,
the end of the
why?
Obi-Wan show, because they called the Inquisitors and they killed him.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, come on now.
Yeah, and that's they cut that from the fan edit, and I was like, okay, good, yes.
It's a cool moment, but he has a weapon that is contraband, essentially in this government.
It's a big flashing red sign that says "Come get me," and it's like, why on earth? And it's just so we could go, ooh, look, he's got his lightsaber. Obi-Wan's back, yeah. And it's like, come on, we know he's going on the ship. We know what he's doing. We don't need this.
Obi-Wan is far too reckless in my opinion. Just because Alderaan is supposedly it's part of the Empire, but it's not. It's part of the Empire, right? But it's not like a big. It's like a big supporter, but still, even if you go to like a big Empire planet, even like a world as rebels supporting as Alderaan, you wouldn't.
He's not going to Alderaan. He's going to whatever.
I guess.
That,
well, by
that
the
planet.
end, he goes out there later. So,
but in general, like even on Tatooine, he should be hiding his lightsaber. Like it's not something you want to advertise. Like
he had it buried in the desert. He only takes it out for the camera. And that's my problem. Is he takes it out so that he can show the audience, look, guys, I've got my lightsaber. You're going to see some lightsabering in the next episode, I bet. That's what it was there for, and I found that annoying. But it was a minor thing, but there's lots of little things in the show that you could cut or tweak, and it would be a lot better. And that's one of those little minor things. But no, when Bail goes to him, he already knows where Leia's at. He's like, oh, she's going to be on this planet called Dayu, but I want you to go get her by yourself.
I mean, I kind of, to me, it made sense because they're trying to hide who she is in a way, but maybe you could have sent more than one, your guards.
But it's
your
like
adopted daughter.
It's also like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's to the audience, it's obvious it's going to be a trap. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be an obvious trap to all of them, to the characters, but.
Well, because it wouldn't make sense to capture somebody who is part of the government, like a senator's daughter. I think that makes sense.
But it's also
from money perspective.
Everyone knows that Bail Organa worked closely with General Kenobi, so I don't know.
Except, I mean, when they make the comment, like Reva says, "I found it in ancient tech or something. I found it in a hidden area. Like it wasn't." Which I can kind of believe too, that everything was just discarded and destroyed from the. They didn't want people to know about the Republic.
She says that. I mean, I just remember her saying that he served her father in the Clone Wars.
I think she made some kind of comment where she found it somewhere hidden, or something. Maybe I'm adding stuff that wasn't in here, but she makes some kind of comment about it that to me went, okay, that fits. But then again, I also have a habit with stuff I like of adding information that makes sense in my head that in the fiction.
Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly, but she says something.
Okay. Well, so the second episode had some cool stuff in it. Again, it was heavily padded, I felt like, but it still had some really cool stuff in it. I was going to say, so that planet Dayu, when he first gets it, first of all, it's very, obviously, it's like, we're not going to call it Nar Shaddaa because we don't want to have to pay the writers who created Nar Shaddaa, but this is totally Nar Shaddaa from the extended universe.
What's I don't know Nar Shaddaa.
Nar Shaddaa is the planet like this that they use in every video game and
Dark Forces.
Dark Forces.
Oh, that where you fight the boss aliens, as they called them back then?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just it's like seedy crime planet with lots of layers.
I like this planet. I mean, it also makes sense there'd be lots of different crime planets and stuff like this because
I like it, but again, it's kind of, it stretches the imagination a little bit because he gets there and he's asking a guy oh, I was looking for this ship and its transponder stopped and he's like, yeah, transponders don't work here because we like our privacy. Meanwhile, there's stormtroopers walking the streets. This is obviously an Empire-controlled planet. Why would the Empire let you have a secret smuggler planet?
The way that I took it is they blocked stuff from them, but the Empire was well aware and tracking everything just fine.
Okay, but why?
That's how I took it, but they just kind of looked the other way.
But they're not, I mean, it's not like, it makes it, Tatooine is on the outer rim outside of Imperial, real Imperial control. That's why they let the Hutts kind of run everything on Tatooine because it's out and they get the same, explanation for Nar Shaddaa, but then, and that would have worked for this one, just be like, it's a far outer rim planet, the Empire has no presence here, and then have the Empire show up when they're hunting him, the same way they show up in A New Hope on Tatooine. There's not like an Imperial garrison on Tatooine, the Empire shows up. That would have made a little more sense. It's just little tweaks like that. But there is a neat little thing here. Girl that is trying to sell him spice. That's Ewan McGregor's niece.
I thought it was his actual daughter.
Or no, it's his daughter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too, where she makes because one of her lines, because it's kind of more meta than she's like, well, everyone was somebody's daughter at one point or something like that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's his daughter. You're right. I was thinking about how he's Wedge Antilles' nephew.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I like Dayu. I like this episode. I like the whole, like the fact that by her giving him the spice that when he sneaks into the place and he ends up falling for the ambush, he uses the spice to break out and get out.
Squirts it in Flea's face.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was good. I liked we got to see him do a little hand-to-hand combat in the and he actually does it's pretty cool, but then he throws a punch and it like hurts his hand, and that's very realistic. Because
I also like he doesn't want to pull out his lightsaber for a long time. He only uses a blaster, which fits perfectly. He doesn't, because again, the lightsaber should be hidden on him very well, not anywhere you can just grab it because you can't use it. Once you
but
use
he's rejected that part of his past. He feels like that being a Jedi is kind of like what ruined everything. So it makes sense that he's gonna like hold back on it.
I like the seeing Commando Obi-Wan again. It kind of reminded me of the Detective Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones, which is the best part of that movie. But finally, we get to see him. We get to see a little bit of him doing gumshoe stuff, and I do appreciate that because we don't see a lot of that in Star Wars, but it tends to be falling Obi-Wan's shoulders whenever it happens.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Is also one of the few things I would say from Episode 2. So.
Yeah.
I also liked, I was just going to say, I really liked when they come across the panhandling clone droid, or clone.
Oh, that was good.
Clone trooper. That was really cool.
They had to give him a job, huh? They had to somehow get that actor in here. They're like, we got to get more.
Tamura Morrison has to be in one Star Wars thing per year. It's like required.
With a lot of the recurring actors in this, I wonder, I'm sure that was a CGI thing. I bet he just had him in a booth, like recording his lines. And that's
but that's fine.
I mean, that's fine too.
I like that concept, and it fits with if you've watched the Bad Batch, which is so. I haven't finished Bad Batch. My son and I were watching it, and then we stopped to watch something else. But in that's one of kind of like what's going on in that is it's bridging that gap. It's saying, all right, it's right after Episode 3, and it's like, okay, we're getting rid of the clones, replacing them with stormtroopers, and you see the clones are being kind of shoved to the wayside and being put on just the back burners, or just really just displaced. And we know that they age really fast also. That was
part of the cloning process.
Yeah. And so, and in the Bad Batch, they're already like saying, we're canceling our contract with the Kaminoans. We don't want these clones anymore. We don't want any more new clones. And then all the existing clones are basically being like kind of forced to play second fiddle to the stormtroopers. And so I like that idea of 10 years later, these clones from the Clone Wars are looking like old and broken down, and they've been abandoned. And you think about it, they were basically a slave army that is then just like thrown away. And it's surprising.
Just clones.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising the Empire didn't just kill them all, honestly. But I think this is better, like having one of them panhandling like that. And especially if you've watched Clone Wars and how Obi-Wan, in Clone Wars, they really push Obi-Wan as like a military commander working with the clone troopers. And so I think that adds to it a little bit too.
And you see how much he cares for them in that show, and then having this little scene where he gives him, something, he gives him money, like it fits.
Yeah, he gives him some money. And yeah, I like that a lot. I always, anytime like Kumail Nanjiani is going to show up in something, I always prepare myself to hate it. And I didn't. I usually end up liking him in spite of him, because I'm not a huge Kumail fan.
I do not like the fake, when he's a fake Jedi with Magnetric.
I love that.
I did not like that.
I loved it. It was funny, and I feel like, yes, there would absolutely be people doing that.
I agree. I just didn't like it. What were you going to say, Peter?
I mean, I was just echoing what Kerry said. I feel like, even though I hate that everyone knows what the Jedi are and everyone is well aware of the Jedi, I did like this part because I do agree that someone would be doing this somewhere. And I felt the same way. I was like, oh, Kumail's in this, like he's in everything, you know. But I wish it had just been this episode instead of him having an arc of redeeming himself and everything, which I thought was
Well, see, the thing is, he does redeem himself in this episode, and then that should have been it. Right. He redeems himself at the end, and then she should have killed him. But that is another thing. This show is kind of bloodless. They don't kill almost anyone.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and here's my problem with when you do prequel shows. You have to have people that you would wonder what happens to them. Because in this show, all the main characters, we know they're all going to survive. You know,
right.
We know everyone's going to live. The only person we really have questions are you know, Reva, and, you know, she's a villain, so she's not really going to have our sympathies through most of the series. And if you have a good prequel, you have to have people that have to have stakes. You can't just be like, oh, these people are all going to survive and nothing's going to happen to them. And this is the problem. I did not have any real suspense in the show because I knew the fate of all these characters.
Yeah. The only characters you don't know the fate of are the new characters.
Right.
And then they kind of, again, they really, I mean, I feel like there's only one heroic new character, one new good guy who dies.
Right.
Yes, the fake Imperial, or the Imperial offer that turned traitor to them.
Yeah, which I really liked. I liked her character, actually.
I did too.
I was happy with that. I felt like this show also, well, we can get to it when we get to the episode. I'll save it. But anyway, I like this episode, but it had some, again, a lot of padding. There's a lot of them walking around and doing the same thing over and over again. And it just really felt like they wrote a 15-minute episode and then they got a team of writers to sit in a room and figure out how can we stretch this out to 45 minutes.
There was some. I do like the bounty hunter parts. All the bounty hunters get the call to go after Obi-Wan, and there's a dinosaur, a freaking dinosaur looking from the old Mario Brothers movie. Yes. I was like, this is great.
Yes. I like that part. They kept that in the fan edit too. They kept the bounty hunters all going, what?
That was a good scene, and I like how Leia finds it and goes, wait a second, they're after you, and then she's like, screw this, and starts running from him.
Yeah, I did not.
I liked that because to me it made sense. Like, yes, she trusted him, but you know, she still didn't really trust him because he's lying to her. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait a second, they're after you. So she thought, which makes sense that she thought that her dad had put the bounty on him, not that the Inquisitor put the bounty on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but I wasn't a big fan of her running from him, and then that becoming the new thing is he's got to get her back.
We gotta make the episode last longer.
The fan edit, what it did was when that came up, he's like, run, and they ran. And then they go on the rooftops, they get into the shootout, and he tells her to run. And then she runs, toward the edge. She's like, wait, stop. And then she jumps off.
Oh, maybe that is... Okay, I'm going to have to watch that.
And so it makes that whole rooftop shootout scene like 20 seconds, which that was one thing, is that scene was too long. It was like minutes of him just exchanging fire and everyone missing for a long time. And Reva standing up there and then doing her Batman flip. And then
that was
slowly chasing him across the rooftops and all that. And they still kept him saving Leia with the Force. And then he comes down and she's like, you really are a Jedi or whatever. And then it goes straight to Kumail saving them. And I thought it was good.
I like that he saved her, though. Because I think that was a way to really like bond the two characters. And then I know people complain about it, but also to me, it made sense that it can connect with what happened in episode 4. That, you know, she knew who he was, so that's why she's reaching out to him. Sure, she's lying.
I thought that was fine. Like, I feel like in episode 4, you know, she's got the fate of the galaxy in her hands, and she sends it to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And you could say it's like, well, because they were above Tatooine for reasons that don't make any sense at all. But whatever, they were above Tatooine. So that's why she knew my father knows a guy on Tatooine. I'll send it to him. That's probably what it was, honestly. But you could also argue that that's why the Tantive 5 was at Tatooine in the first place.
Yeah. Okay.
They left whatever planet. Say what?
Wherever they were, in Rogue One.
Wherever they were at the end of Rogue One, they hyper jumped to Tatooine because she knew Obi-Wan was on Tatooine. And this adds to that headcanon in a way that is believable, I felt like. So I was fine with it.
Episode 2 has a really good moment that really struck with me when he finally, as they're trying to escape and they get the hint from the fake Jedi to go to this carrier because everything's been blocked off. And the scene where he fights Reva and Reva's like, she's still alive. Anakin's still alive. And his face, the fear that he gets and the sadness, like that was perfect. I love that. And I also love that this is how he finds out that Vader didn't die. when he left him for dead on the volcano. Like,
or that Vader is. I mean, he's got to know that Vader exists, right? Like,
yes, but
everyone knows.
I don't think. I always thought he knew who Vader was.
He does. I don't think he knows until she tells him here.
Well,
right?
no, I do disagree because they watched the security camera footage, and when Emperor Palpatine says, "I now Christian you, Darth Vader," or whatever, I now pronounce you, Darth Vader, because they were watching that episode 3, so he knows. He should know that Darth Vader is Anakin.
I will admit I've seen Star Wars Episode 3 twice ever, so I saw it in the theater, and then I saw it one more time. When I like 10 years ago, I was like, well, maybe this isn't as bad as I remember. I was like, no, it's worse than I remember.
Well, so I hear to tell you that definitively he knows that Darth Vader and Anakin are the same person. Because
now that ruins this.
That definitely does.
Yes.
But also, I wanted to just correct one thing. You said when he fights Reva, I don't think he fights her, does he?
Does he just hide from her?
He just hides from her. He just hides. He just hides, doesn't even pull out his lightsaber. He's saved. Once again, all of the Inquisitors, except for Reva, are the most, like, super careful. We can't hurt anyone. We can't do anything bad. You would kidnap a senator's daughter? Like, they're such goody two-shoes. They're such goody two-shoes. And so many times that they stop Reva from catching Obi-Wan. And this is one of those times where they've got Obi-Wan cornered. And he's like, yeah, no, stop. No, Vader doesn't want this. We don't want this. You're bad. And then it's just, God, this is stupid. I just felt like that. That was one of the really dumb things to me. And the fan edit did not really fix that. They just shortened it. She comes in there, she taunts Obi-Wan, and then the Grand Inquisitor walks in and tells her to stop, and then she kills him. And then Obi-Wan gets away. And it's still, I was like, yeah, I guess there was no way to edit this into not being dumb, so it's fine.
I thought it was weird that she killed the Grand Inquisitor, and that to me felt unnecessary because it's like he can't die because he's later on. He's in the show. Well, he's in Rebels.
Well, you're saying that, but I was looking up the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels is fifth brother. It's like he has the same markings as fifth brother. Pretty sure.
I wasn't that a fan. I feel like that was a fan complaint, is that his head is too normal as opposed to.
Yeah, that was a big complaint.
Yeah. Because I just I was curious, and so I was looking up what fifth brother is in, and it's the like pale guy with the fifth brother's the one with the weird headgear.
Yeah.
Oh well, the guy at the end, the Grand Inquisitor at the end of this show, isn't in the 6th episode. Isn't that the one from Rebels?
I thought it was the same guy the whole time.
It is the same guy. Yeah. It just they never explain how he survives. He gets the lightsaber through him.
He comes back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he comes back at the very end of episode 5.
Yeah, he comes back at the end of episode 5, and
he's in
like,
6 too.
He calls her. He calls her Grand Inquisitor as he takes the badge off of her chest.
Yeah, he does.
While she's laying there with a lightsaber through her gut, also survives.
Yeah, it seems like Qui-Gon's the only guy who got it in the gut and died. So guess it's not too bad.
Yeah, that is true. There are 2 different characters in this show that get lightsabers.
They're skewered, and then somehow
and then live. Yeah. That's funny.
I think it's lazy writing, but
it is.
Well, maybe because they're both dark side.
There's no.
The thing is, it would have been really simple. Just switch those 2 characters. Right. Just have a Grand Inquisitor at the beginning of this that is not in Rebels that she kills here, and then show the Grand Inquisitor from Rebels becoming the Grand Inquisitor at the end when he helps Vader catch her and he takes the badge back. And I say the end, by the way, because that is, I think, the very best change the fan edit makes is Vader kills her and she's dead.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I ruined the end of the fan edit for you, but that is far, far better way to end the show, to end her story in the show. She dies trying to kill Vader, like the show made you think happened at the end of episode 5. So, but I got ahead. We're on episode.
Plus that fits with Vader. We're
on 3.
Yeah, 3.
We're going into 3, which I think one of the better characters in the show.
Well, 3 also starts off with you see Mustafar, which I like seeing Vader's cast on Mustafar because it's in the comic too that I read for the show a long time ago.
It's in a lot of stuff. Yeah,
I just like it, and this is where you see she gets promoted to Grand Inquisitor, and you have some good moments. I think where it kind of shows that Vader realizes that Obi-Wan's alive and is looking for him again, and I also like how Obi-Wan is so untrustworthy because they get the ship lands at this random mining planet or farm planet, and like he comments how everything is ruined. It used to be great, and he's telling Leia like, "Hey, your name is this, and this is the story. You don't talk." And then she just immediately doesn't listen to a word he says and starts talking. It has a better cover story than he does.
Here's I thought it was a missed opportunity for some maybe humor. And I know he's, dissatisfied and maybe gone out with the Force, but I felt like at some point in the series, Obi-Wan should have tried to use a mind trick on someone.
And it failed.
And it fails.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, this is the part they're going to do it. This is the part they're going to do it. And he never does it.
Watching the fan edit after having seen the series, I forgot that he didn't hear. And I was like, ooh, is this where he's going to finally try to use a mind trick? Oh, wait, no, he's not. He's just gonna John Wick his way out of this.
I know. I felt a little bit.
Fine.
It's fine, but why are we watching this guy then? Like, why are we watching Star Wars? We want to see them do some Force stuff or try to do this, and we don't just want to see. I just don't want to see Ewan McGregor be a commando or John Wick.
Well,
I want him to try.
We get to see him fail at moving things. We get to see him fail at force pushing and pulling a few times, but that's it. And the first. I mean, really, you think about the original Star Wars, the first time we meet Obi-Wan, he's making a crate dragon sound that sounds exactly like a crate dragon, which we assume Force, mind trick, or something, right? And then the second time we see him use the Force, it's a mind trick.
Right.
And in fact, really, and then the next time we see him use the Force, it's a mind trick. He tricks those stormtroopers into hearing a sound.
Right.
So it's like, in fact, we really only see him use the Force 4 times, and all of them are mind trick stuff. And so, but then we're not going to do that in the series even once. It felt like a missed opportunity. I did like Freck, the alien guy that gives him a ride, but then he's like, "Thought you want to check these guys out." It's like, "Oh, come on, Freck." And then you think about it, and you're like, "Well, yeah, because this isn't a cartoon, and the Empire, I think." Yeah, the Empire is bad, but not everyone would hate the Empire. A lot of people, and not everybody that likes the Empire is a mustache twirling villain. Like, it's just regular folk would just be like, oh, I mean, we're under the Republic, now we're in the Empire. Yeah, it's a different government. It's fine. They're not doing anything to me. I give these guys rides. They're nice to me.
And they probably pay him. Like, he's probably making more money than he was maybe making before. Like, I can get it.
Yeah, he's a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, he's just a law-abiding citizen, and there's some shady. There's a shady dude with a little girl. Like, yeah.
It's very much reminded me of Silent Hill 1. Have you seen this girl? Just wandering around telling people that. Like, it's the same idea. Like, I get it why they don't, they wouldn't trust him. I like Freck too. I thought it was funny, but I agree. I also like when the stormtroopers get on and he says Leia, and they're like, Leia, you said her name was Lola.
Yeah.
Or L something. That made me laugh.
I think Lola, yeah. Luma.
Luma, yeah. Where it's like, I'm like, yeah, I can't even get a story straight.
And we can't say Luma because her droid is Lola.
Yes.
So, I liked it. I was also glad that he didn't kill Freck. He knocks Freck out. He doesn't
voiced by Zach Braff, by the way.
Oh. Yeah, I can see that. That's funny because, Zach Braff is, his best friend is Donald Faison. Who was in Scrubs with him, and Donald Faison does a lot of Star Wars voice acting.
I mean, at this point, there's a big network of people who are probably clamoring to get in Star Wars anywhere they can. So
yeah, well, and it was funny if you listen to I used to listen to their podcast, and I just kind of got over it and stopped listening to it. But Zach Braff doesn't care about Star Wars or know anything about it. And Donald Faison is a super Star Wars nerd.
Oh, really?
And is super, super into it, reads the comics. He kind of basically used his very minor star power to just bug Disney into letting him be in a Star Wars thing. And then he's a voice in Rebels, I think. And so but anyway, so I'm betting Donald Faison was like, hey, Zach, come on, you should do this one.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, but I like that. And then, he gets rescued by Tala, who I thought was a good character, and she reminded me a lot of. I feel like if you've played, have y'all played Battlefront 2?
I have one.
No.
Yes.
Like the new Battlefront series. So Battlefront 2 got a lot of hate because it was it's mostly a multiplayer game, and the multiplayer was super pay to win. You had but the single player campaign is actually a very good little Star Wars adventure game, and I mean it's not the best.
It wasn't bad.
It's no Fallen Order, but it's good. And I felt like Tala reminded me kind of the character you play in that.
Okay, I can see that because she does kind of look like her too. So
yeah, it looks a lot like her, similar voice, and I like that. I would have actually, I thought it could have been kind of cool if it was the same character even, but I don't remember when Battlefront 2 is taking place. But that would have been a very like neat, vague Easter egg because I don't think very many people played the single player of Battlefront 2.
No, most people wouldn't have played it for that. I mean, I did, but most people wouldn't. But I know I like.
That's the only thing I liked about it. So,
Talia, what's her name?
Tala,
I thought she was really good.
Yeah, I thought she was good. And the only character that they actually let die that's like important.
Her death was so good, which we'll get there in a couple episodes. But everything I like with her. I like how she's like, I was coming to get you. And like also like the first time you see her, they're all, Obi-Wan is getting down, like they're putting their hands up, they're about to get arrested. And then she just starts shooting people.
Yeah,
like,
it was also, she tells him to lay down, face down in the dirt.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's got his blaster pointed at the stormtroopers. I saw it again. I was like, wait a minute. Like, if you've got a gun in your hand and the cops are like, get down on the ground, and so you start to ease down on the ground, pointing your gun at them, I don't think that's how that works.
No. But the stormtroopers are stupid. What can we say?
I guess. But,
it was funny, though. And then one guy gets cut through the lasers. Like, one guy gets, like, pushed or something happens on the lasers, and
he falls on the laser grid.
Sliced in half. I'm like,
that's right before she shows up. But yeah.
That's quality death.
Yeah, it was a good one. And right in front of this 10-year-old girl. Sees a guy get cut in half.
But hey, he didn't bleed because he got caught, incarcerated.
Cauterized. Yeah.
Cauterized, yeah. So that's okay. Then no blood, so that's all right. And it made sense that there was no blood because he was cauterized.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was okay with it. I wasn't complaining. I really liked it, actually. There were a lot of parts of this that I liked. I liked a lot of little random deaths you get.
I'm trying to look at the plot and see where we're going. There is, Vader does arrive later in the episode when they try to.
This is when things
get bystanders to lure Kenobi out,
and they kill him too.
When he shows up, he starts just starts force choking people.
Right.
To draw Obi-Wan out. I thought that was good. That's what he'd do. I was saying
Vader-ish.
This episode has a lot of little Easter eggs in it, by the way, to the extended universe, to the cartoons. Just FYI. Like when they're in that bunker, there's all that Orabesh writing on the wall, and it's got the names of it's like Jedi that have passed through there, leaving encouraging messages, and a lot of there's like names of Jedi that are in the cartoons and stuff. And she mentions that she worked with Quinlan Vos, who's a character from Clone Wars. So I thought, that was, that's it. But they don't throw it in your face, I feel like. And I think that's the best part, is that you've got to like kind of look up. Yeah. Or even then you wouldn't know unless you read Orabesh. So you got to like look it up. But like when she says the thing about Quinlan Vos, then you'd be like, oh yeah, if you have watched and retained Clone Wars.
And this is also the episode when you first find out about the path, which I like, the people that were hiding forced children, which makes sense that there would be people out there who were trying to protect, because they were just killing any kid that was forced into, or they kill them or they abduct them and then turn them into Inquisitors or Palpatine clones, who the hell knows, but they were taking them. So
yeah, and I think the path is in other stuff, right?
I don't remember. I think it is too, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I like the idea of an underground railroad type.
There would 100% be that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get the Vader Obi-Wan confrontation.
Which was fine. But it was drawn out and badly edited. They had that part where he like runs off the screen in one direction.
Right.
And then it just looks like he enters the exact same set from the other direction. It's not good. And that was, again, the fan edit did a great job of cutting most of that and just having basically they show Obi-Wan run out and there's a lot of him running from Vader, and then eventually they meet up, and in the fan edit he runs right into Vader right away. They have their little confrontation, bam bam bam.
Right.
And that's what you needed, because again, padding.
Right.
I know a lot of people complain about this fight. They complain that he doesn't kill, like Vader doesn't really try to kill him. He gets stopped by some fire.
I think that was fine. It makes sense that Vader would want to set him on fire after what he did to him.
Right. I mean, he said the pain is just beginning or something like that.
Yeah, so I have no problem buying that. Instead of, he didn't want to kill him, he also thought he won, so he was just trying to make him suffer.
Yeah, this is exactly. I mean, Obi-Wan, you want to talk about the most like stone cold, like evil thing that anyone does in the Star Wars universe is
Right.
Obi-Wan fighting his best friend and then leaving him to burn to death in lava. Like,
Like he
that
didn't
is,
even kill him and finish him.
didn't even
Right.
like put him out of his misery. I'm just going to let you lay here and slowly die of your burn wounds.
It's good that they did finally address that and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, this was a dick thing you did."
Yeah, this was awful. Yeah.
Like he really should have just killed him and finished it.
Yeah,
Well,
I
yes,
mean,
but then we wouldn't. That's
I
the
know.
problem with prequels.
right.
Yeah.
That's why the only good prequels are prequels that don't involve anyone from the original property. Whatever it is, when you do a prequel, it's got to be divorced. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic is the best Star Wars prequel.
Because it's so far away.
I just will add, you can do it. I don't know if anybody watches Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay.
Prequel.
Yeah.
You have a few characters you know, and then you have like 3 or 4 characters who you don't know the fate of. So your whole show, you're like, well, I know what happens to person X, but character X, Y, and Z, I don't know what's going to happen to them. So they could meet a horrible death, but I guess I'll have to keep watching to find out.
Well, and every single character in Better Call Saul that's also in Breaking Bad is a extremely minor character in Breaking Bad.
Right. Yeah.
Except for there's two villains from Breaking Bad that are also in Better Call Saul that are actually major characters. But other than that, and so you watch Better Call Saul, there's lots of characters to care about.
Right.
That you don't know what's going to happen, and the handful you do, you know where they're going to eventually end up, but you don't know how they got there.
Right. And
because they're such minor characters that stuff had not been filled out yet the way it has for all these others. So.
Yeah, as prequels go, that's probably like one of the primo prequels. A lot of times, like when you try to do this, it's you're just setting up. This character has to live because they're in part 2. It's hard to do a good prequel.
You lack any stakes. There's no. I mean that is the thing. Leia's going to live. Obi-Wan's going to live. I mean, Obi-Wan's not only going to live when he gets set on fire. He's going to get healed.
Right.
Yeah, he has to.
I mean, Luke is going to live later on when that comes up. Depending on which edit you watch, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, I was fine with this part. I liked it. I really like the loader droid. I like the whole concept of that as when they first meet the loader and Leia tries to talk to him and Tala's like, oh, he's a loader droid. They don't let them communicate. And she's like, but what if he has something to say? And then she goes, actions speak louder than words. And well, we'll get to it in episode 5, but still, I feel like I like when he comes and rescues Obi-Wan with her, like Tala and the loader droid rescue Obi-Wan. Though again, I feel like Tala would not have let Leia go by herself.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right, but I'm okay with that too because I mean, it didn't bother me, but I get what you mean though.
The only reason I'm okay with it is because it gives us a chance to visit where we're gonna go in episode 4.
Right.
And so we could in episode 4 they go to Fortress Inquisitorius. Is that what it's called? Which is the final level from Fallen Order, right? From Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, it is.
It's the same place. And I feel like there is no way they made this show without having seen Fallen Order or played it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would because Fallen Order came out.
It has scenes. There are scenes in this that are like extremely, extremely similar to scenes from Fallen Order. And I will say, by the way, I think Jedi Fallen Order is one of the best. I would say outside of books, it's the best Star Wars story that's been made since the original trilogy.
Really?
I really think so. I think it has a really good story, really good characters, good acting. It does a great job. And it has a really good twist ending that I'm not going to spoil, but the final major climax is in Fortress Inquisitorius, and it has like there are rooms that are like exactly the same. There's things like when he swims there, that's how you go to Fortress Inquisitorius in that game is you swim and then you come up in that room and it looks exactly the same of the little like, you come up, it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid 2, but Metal Gear Solid 2 too. But you like come up out of the water and you go up the little stairs and then the door opens and there's stormtroopers there and you've got to fight them. It's like exactly, and there's only one stormtrooper in this one, but there's like 12 in that because it's a video game, but still. But it had a lot of
this episode got a lot of hate though. People call this a filler episode. I disagree.
I thought it was it was one of the best episodes of the show.
I'm shocked.
But no, a lot of people call it a filler for some reason. I'm like, this isn't. I mean, because Leia gets captured into 3, and like you have her here, like they're why would he go here? Like it's a trap. Like it fits everything perfectly.
Yeah, it's the first episode with suspense, in my opinion.
I thought it was great, but I will say you could also have made this the last episode, and it would have worked very well.
Yeah,
I really felt like I was wondering if the fan edit was going to do that, and I looked at the time bar, and it was only like 45 minutes in when it got to this part, and I was like, oh, well, I guess not. Or it's about an hour, but it's an hour and a half, and I was like, oh, really? There's still an hour and a half left, or there's still, that's what it was. It was an hour in. And I was like, there's still an hour and a half left. Like this could be. If I was making a fan edit, I would have made this the final part of the movie. But anyway, it ended up working out well. I guess, but you could have. Yeah, there's no way to fan edit that out, but you could have had all of the stuff that happens in episode 5 could have happened in this episode at Fortress Inquisitorius. Because I think episode 5 is the one that is the filler episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though I mean, big, important, good things happen in it, but they take up like 5 minutes of the episode.
I really like episode 4. I like it when he goes down, like the way that the Imperial officer is sneaking with him, and she's messing with security so he can get in,
and how she bluffs her way in with the guy by just like pulling rank on him and just like force of personality gets the guy to back down and let her in and all that, and then she just sits down at a terminal and starts messing around. She has to kill a guy and all, and I thought it was really good.
She's a badass.
It honestly, what it reminded me a lot of also was what I think is probably the best episode of Mandalorian season 2, the one with Space Boston guy.
Oh, where they have to infiltrate the facility.
Yeah, where they infiltrate that Imperial facility. It felt a lot like that too with me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think whenever you have to be undercover in a base or something, that always adds a lot of tension.
Yeah.
Whenever, and they had kind of the added tension of if she gets discovered and if Obi-Wan gets discovered. So there's 2 potentials for discovery there.
Right. We've got 2 of those going on.
Yeah.
And the fan edit. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say the design of the base is really cool. Even if it from a prior property or whatever, I still thought it looked amazing, and it looked very evocative. I'm glad it was, because in Fallen Order, that's like my favorite part of that entire video game, and it's the final like level of the game, but it's long. You're in there for hours because it's kind of a Dark Souls style game.
Yeah, and it's just a good scene. Everything I felt with it was just really good. Like him sneak. I also love when he goes down in like the tomb and he's like, "This isn't a fortress. This is a tomb," and he sees all the dead bodies frozen. They're in like they're in. I don't know what they're supposed to be. Maybe they were in amber because they were saving it so thousands, millions of years from now they can get their DNA and then clone them, right? And what they're up to?
We have like a park, Jedi Park.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure this is a tomb is lifted from Boromir, but
I didn't think about. I forgot about that scene. But you are right.
That is
mine. This is a tomb.
This is a tomb.
Yeah, that is true. I wasn't sure. It was just like, why were they? Is this like a cloning facility? Do they take these? Are they creating clone Sith from Jedi DNA?
Is it a museum? Like, is it supposed to be like? I mean,
is this like a trophy room?
Yeah,
is that what it's supposed to be? Like, it's like a trophy for the Inquisitors, because this is. I guess it's Fortress Inquisitorius, so I assume this is where they train Inquisitors, and I know that is what it is in the game. You go there and there's like sparring rooms, and there's a bunch of Inquisitors there.
But
not
it's
a
also
bunch.
in
like
the comic. This is where they train them, because this place is also in the comic. I'm pretty sure it's in the Darth Vader Dark Lord of Sith comic.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I was sure that I assumed when I played Fallen Order that they didn't get it. They didn't make it up themselves. Yeah, I figured it was from a comic.
I don't remember if it's mentioned in Rebels or not, because I don't remember Rebels that well, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
And just everything, like the way he rescues Leia, where he asks for a distraction, and then she has to go and, she calls Reva, which is essentially the only way that this whole plan works, even though they're about to kill her, and then she breaks free. But the scene where the water starts to break, and then he has to finally realize that he can use the Force, and he uses the Force to hold back the water, like that is
Yeah,
so good to see him reconnecting with the Force again.
It is, and it's also what you do in Fallen Order.
Oh, I don't remember very well. It's been a while.
that is how you escape in Fallen Order. Is you you use the Force to shatter the window and then direct the water at the person that's chasing you. So yeah. Again, I was like, has to be a Fallen Order reference because it's exactly what happens. It's even like in the same place. You're in this tube right in front of a door. The door opens. You smash the thing. You throw the water, and then you run. Only in the game you swim out the hole, but still.
I also thought it was stupid how the guards run after him and then are all surprised when the water breaks and kills them all.
Well,
yeah.
Like, come on, guys! Like, you ran into a room that. What do you think was going to happen?
They were hyper-focused. Oh, we didn't mention, by the way, he gets help from these, like, rebel guys.
Oh, well, yes.
Air
speeders.
Yeah, Colin Roken.
So we didn't talk about how he goes to the rebel camp when he's healed by the Bacta tank, and then he convinces them to take him to this place to rescue Leia because they don't want to help him.
And I was going to say, I felt like this was an opportunity, by the way. Colin Roken could have been Saw Gerrera, and I think it would have fit.
Well, Saw Gerrera is in Jedi Fallen Order, which is, I think, before this happened.
Well, yeah.
If I remember correctly, Jedi Fallen Order is only a couple years after, and Saw Gerrera is also in Rebels, too.
Well, he's also in Rogue One. He dies in Rogue One.
Yeah, so, I think he's in Rebels. He's in Clone Wars, too.
He's in Rebels. He's in Clone Wars. He's in Rogue One. He's in Fallen Order. He gets brought up a lot, and I just felt like it was an interesting... at first, I thought it might be him.
At this point in the canon, though, he's way too rebellious to what this would be. He's not. He's trying to kill everybody at this point already.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
because he goes pretty. Because something happens to him in the Clone Wars, and that's what makes him start to go kind of crazy. And I think when you see him in Jedi Fallen Order, he's already really, gone off the dark side.
In Fallen Order, he's not yet. In Fallen Order, he's pretty nice. He's
okay. Rebels, I think he's gone nuts.
It's in Rebels that I think Rebels is where he's first gone like hardcore.
Rogue.
And I don't know. I mean, in Rogue One, he's definitely gone hardcore. He's like torturing people, but he's also in Rogue One. He's like lost his feet and his lungs. So
I need to rewatch Rogue One.
Yeah, but anyway, I liked episode 4 a lot. I liked the end where Vader is force choking her, and she tells him that she put the tracker on their ship, and so she knows where they're going to be, and that they'll not only, and you see what she was doing. She's like, not only are we going to get Obi-Wan, we're going to get all of the path. The path too, which I looked it up. The path was made for this show. It's a new thing.
Okay.
There's definitely versions of the path and other stuff though, but it's just not called that.
Okay. There's a small scene here that I also really like when they're sneaking, the speeders. When they first mentioned speeders, we use those for sewage, and I was just laughing my ass off. And when they use the speeders to attack her, and then she blows up the one, he's like, "I got it! He's like, we made it!" And then they blow his ass up. I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, I loved how she's just with her lightsaber, just taking this barrage of stuff and just blocking it all. And I was like, she's obviously going to knock this back, right? And then she doesn't. But then, she throws does she throw the battery or no?
She throws it at him.
I thought the other guy did it.
No, I think it's her.
I was thinking it was Fifth Brother throws it.
I'm pretty sure she does, because Fifth Brother just does a lot of yelling in this show. He doesn't do much action.
Yeah.
He just complains all the time.
Yeah, no, you're right. She throws a rectangular explosive at Wade's airspeeder.
Yeah, it's a good scene. And then sneaking is also funny, where they, Obi-Wan just puts on a coat and a hat and just starts walking towards the dog, and people are like, oh, they should recognize him. Okay, when people are in a rush in an emergency type situation like this, people do not pay attention to certain things, and I've seen it in real life. People will not notice stuff like this.
Right.
Okay, but they stick out. It looks like 3 raccoons in a trench coat.
Stormtroopers are idiots.
It's ridiculous. It's like the only 2 people not in military uniforms, and it's obviously not a normal human shape walking through this crowd of all humans in uniforms. I don't know.
And I think this ends the episode where you find out, she has a tracker. Vader almost kills her, and then we bring on to episode 5.
And we find out the tracker is Lola.
Oh yes,
which is a good payoff, because earlier she grabbed Lola, and then so we saw that she had Lola in her possession at one point. Yeah. So I thought that was good. Though I think it's another little silly thing about Star Wars. Blue is good, red is bad. So now that Lola's bad, Lola's going to have a red light instead of a blue light. Because that was something I was thinking about last night, is that the original Star Wars, there's 3 lightsabers in the original trilogy. There's a blue one, there's a couple of blue ones, there's a green one, there's a red one, right? And because the one bad guy uses the red one and the 2 good guys use blue and green ones, then we decided for the next 50 years in Star Wars, blue means good, blue and green means good, red means bad, except for if it's blasters, and then it's the opposite. The good guys always fire red blasters from ships, I mean.
Right, yeah.
X-Wings, A-Wings, all that, they all fire red. TIE Fighters and the Death Star all fire green. But other than that, red bad. Red bad. And if you're a bad... And to the point that there's been some really stupid extended universe stuff that talks about, like, Vader, he had to corrupt a kyber crystal to make it red.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no. No.
Just a
Darth
color.
Vader had a red lightsaber because he thought it looked cool. That's all they needed to have. And there was no reason for every single Sith ever to have a red lightsaber. But they decided that's how it is. And it's stupid. It's stupid. And this is one of those examples of, like, we don't need Lola to glow red to know that she's bad.
And I can agree with you that episode 5 could almost be filler, because, like, the whole point of it is, like, they go to the rebel base, they're trying to evacuate everybody. Lola shuts the gate on them so they can't leave, and then they spend, like, the whole episode just... Because, I mean, like, the Imperials come, Vader comes, and this is also when you first see Padawan Anakin again. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Bothers me. Like, they had to film a scene where they have one duel where Obi-Wan and Anakin are dueling, supposed to be before episode 2, and it just doesn't work for me because...
I think it's supposed to be between episode 2 and 3.
You think so?
Yeah, because he looks... Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because you can see the facade slipping. There's a couple of reasons it doesn't work. One is, man, it does not look like it does not look right. His face.
Right.
Hayden Christensen
aged a lot, and you're trying to make him look like when he was, like, in the teens probably, or very early 20s, and it just doesn't work. I mean, I would rather have him just recast someone that looked like him.
They should have brought in the guy that did the deep fake for Luke and Boba Fett, the fan.
Because that looks good.
Yeah, he fixed their bad job and so well that on YouTube that they gave him a job. They should have brought him in and had him do one here if they were going to do this. I will say the fan edit kept this, like, thing with them fighting, and it comes back to that at the end of the episode. It kept it, but it cut it down shorter. And in that context, it worked as a very short doses.
I would have rather just had the whole scene in one scene, not here's a little all episode as he keeps having flashbacks to this one training session.
Yeah. It didn't add anything, in my opinion, that we didn't already know.
I mean, really, all it did was
to show that Anakin didn't believe in mercy, and that Anakin was restless as Anakin. So Darth Vader's going to be reckless, so that Obi-Wan knows his plan will work because of this one training session, not the years he fought with him in the Clone Wars, not all the stuff they went through. No, because of this one training session.
Well, and I don't even think the training session shows that. They're fighting, Obi-Wan gets disarmed, and he says, see, your desire to prove yourself. And then he just, like, knocks Anakin to the side and steals his lightsaber. And Anakin's like, oh, darn, I lost. Stupid. It's dumb. It's not only is it dumb, but it reinforces this thing that I think the prequels also showed, that Obi-Wan is just an asshole to Anakin. He's just, like, condescending as hell. And he ends it by going, until you figure this out, a Padawan you shall be. And then puts his arm around his shoulder, and Anakin's like, oh. It's just, I don't know. It's just dumb. But this whole episode, you could have cut. The Kumail
There's only one
back.
cool scene in this episode. Like, well, another dumb part is, like, they're in there, they're trying to blow up the door. They're spending all this time with the battering ram cannon. And all they have to do is Reva walks up to the door when Obi-Wan's talking to her, and she just cuts the lock and they break in. It's like, did you even need to shoot the door if you could just cut the lock?
Yeah, what was the point of any of this?
And that's kicking at a door and go, oh, wait, I got a key right here. Click. Oh, we're in. Okay, it's like, what's the point?
And by the way, then, that heavy cannon, we're not going to use that now that we've got the door open, though. We're just going to, like, run in and just start shooting. But no good guys are going to die in this shootout. They're all going to get away. Stormtroopers going to fall left and right. That's whatever.
Well, some got killed. Some of the rebels did.
Yeah, a couple of them did kill, but it's just. I thought that
it is stupid. But is this where you get the good scene where I keep forgetting her name, but she sacrifices herself with a thermal detonator?
Tala, yeah, it happens a little after that, but yes.
That was the only good scene of this episode is where she sacrificed herself with that thing, and I just laugh because I always think of Return of the Jedi where she pulls out thermal detonator and they go, and they all freak out. She has a grenade.
I have to say, I was fine. I actually liked Reva. I liked her story here. I really preferred it in the fan edit because of how it ends, but I was actually fine with this, that she witnessed Skywalker killing all the younglings, and she hid among the dead bodies, and basically she's playing a long con. She has embraced the dark side and become an Inquisitor, all so that she can get close enough to kill Anakin.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I really like that. But yeah, so then she and Obi-Wan have this Obi-Wan turns himself in, and they have this discussion right in front of, there's a stormtrooper like 3 feet away, and they just have this discussion about how like, oh yeah, I'm gonna help you. I do like this thing. He says, "You're not bringing me to Vader. I'm bringing him to you." And she gets this light on her face, like, "Oh, we can work together to take out Vader." And then she lets him escape. Vader gets there, or we see that he escaped. Vader gets there. We get the whole thing with Tala, sacrificing herself. But then when they get to the ship and they're getting away, and Vader uses the Force to pull the ship back down, and he rips the ship apart to discover it's empty, and then another ship that was right behind it flies up out of it. It's just like, that is so.
My guess is that he couldn't do
dumb.
that twice. It was the one time he couldn't do it again.
Right, guess. but hear me out.
Yeah.
Instead, how about this?
Why they hide the ship?
There's only one ship. He's pulling it down, and Reva uses, while he's distracted pulling out the ship, uses that as the opportunity to cut him down, and he has to turn and fight her, and the ship gets away because of that. How much better would that have been?
I'm picturing it in my mind. I can picture it scene by scene. It's so much better than what happens. I can picture the beats.
That would have been better.
And I thought the fan edit was going to do that, because that was one of my major, but definitely one of my complaints about the show was that scene. I thought that was really dumb, and the fan edit kept it as is, except that, so he fights Reva. I thought it was a pretty good fight, because at first he doesn't even pull out his lightsaber. He just fights her without a lightsaber, and he's just like knocking her to the side, and it's just obvious he's like a cat playing with a mouse, that he's so much more powerful and more skilled than her. And then he pulls her lightsaber into two, which, not breaks it. He just detaches it into two and tosses one to her so that they can have a duel. And he fights her. And then, and then he stabs her through and reveals, "I knew who you think I didn't see you. You think I didn't know who you were." And I like that whole thing. And then Grand Inquisitor comes back and takes the badge, which I think, better writing, it would have been Fifth Brother comes and becomes Grand Inquisitor. But anyway, in the fan edit, that's where she dies there. And that's so much better.
I thought that was going to happen, but at a certain point, I was, when Vader started to be like, "Well, we're going to leave you here," I was like, "What are you doing? You should, of all people, should know you don't leave somebody wounded on a random planet and be like, well, I guess that's the end of you."
Right, and the show makes you think that she probably is dead, and then she comes back in episode 6.
Well, but I feel like there was the Bail Organa's message.
Oh, you're right. Oh yeah, so they cut all of that stupidity out of the fan edit. That was I felt like that was possibly the dumbest plot hole in the entire show.
It was like
Bail Organa being like sitting here,
whose kids they were. So I guess there's that.
His OPSEC is terrible.
He's like, "Okay, well, since I haven't been able to get a hold of you, I'm just going to go to Tatooine to see about the boy."
Right. What are you doing, man?
It was so dumb.
Oh, it really was dumb. I didn't like it. I understood it, but I didn't like it.
It was also obvious it was going to happen, because he hands that communicator thing to Kumail, and then you see Kumail drop it and not notice that he dropped it. And it's like, okay, so Vader's going to find that. Cool.
Just break it. I thought Vader for sure was going to find it, and Vader was going to be the one that goes to Tatooine. And then
that was what I thought, and I was like, "Oh man, is this show going to end with Vader going to Tatooine? That would be the stupidest thing that could possibly happen." And it didn't. Something else stupid happened, but not that stupid.
Not the stupidest, but almost.
Well, I like it that Vader never goes back to Tatooine in this show because I was afraid they were going to do that, and I'm glad they don't, because if he goes to Tatooine, then that messes up everything with the entire original trilogy. You can't go there.
That is the entire going back to Tatooine in Episode 1, like Star Wars Episode 1, introduced a massive can of worms. Anakin should have been from some random backwater and had nothing to do with Tatooine, and we should have never seen Tatooine ever again after Return of the Jedi. Until the very end of Episode 3, when Obi-Wan brings Luke there. But instead, it's like, well, we got to go back to Tatooine in every freaking Star Wars everything for some reason. But anyway, thankfully Vader didn't go back to Tatooine, because that would have been really good.
Right, yeah.
But that does bring us to Episode 6, which is I would say, of the fan edit, this is the one that got cut the most. I think they kept 10 minutes of Episode 6 in the fan edit. Maybe 15.
Impressive. And
it's so much better that way. They have
6 just feels unnecessary too, because this was kind of like the episode everybody was waiting for, because they were all waiting for the thing with Luke. So this was kind of like you had to have your little situation where Luke did something at the time in this show, which again I could have done without. We get enough of Luke in the original trilogy.
Well, and everything talking about John Wicking, man, Beru Lars just like murking stormtroopers left and right. Bam, just quite it was stupid. So in the fan edit, what happens is they're on the ship. Luke convinces Kumail to take Leia and get her home, and gives her the little holster and says someday you won't be 10 thing, which I did think was funny, because he hands her the holster. She goes, it's empty. And he's like, well, you're 10 years old. I wasn't going to give you a blaster. And then he looks at her and says, but you won't always be 10 years old. And you didn't have to leave that. And then he goes off on his own. Vader wants to chase him. Grand Inquisitor's like, but we shouldn't do that. We should chase the path people and cut out this entire path thing. And he's like, nope, we got to get Obi-Wan. And they do. And then they have their duel. And it ends it the way it ends it there. And then we have our denouement of, we see Luke one more time. Obi-Wan gives Owen the toy and says, you're right. He needs to just grow up and be a boy. And then he goes to Alderaan. He goes to Alderaan, visits Leia, gives her Lola back. Then he does that thing with Owen. And then it ends with him meeting Qui-Gon in the desert. And that's a much better way to end the show, but it's not a 45-minute episode of television.
Right, yeah.
I still like this last episode. I like the fact, like, you have the little scene where Reva went to Tatooine somehow before him, while he's trying to try to distract the ship that Vader's trying to destroy just to kill Obi-Wan. I like that. Like, I like this. I like where he's like, okay, if I go on my own little ship and go to this random planet, Vader will follow me and not pursue you guys, which again makes sense, because Vader doesn't really care about the path. He just wants to kill freaking Obi-Wan, which again, after Obi-Wan did to him, makes 100% sense.
Yeah, no, that completely is fine. Him baiting Vader down to the planet, then fighting him, really using the Force powerfully and smashing Vader's helmet was really cool. And he sees like half Anakin, half Vader.
Also, I do I like that line where he's like, you didn't kill Anakin, I did. And then, the joke being like, well, that's what he told me when I told you, Luke. He told me that he killed.
Yeah, that was maybe a little much, but it was fine. I liked his fight with Vader. I felt like if they're going to have him fight, this was the way to do it. Have them fight, and he schools Vader and then leaves him alive again, because he can't bear to kill his friend, because that's not what the light side is about. And then when they meet up in, A New Hope, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, right? That still kind of works, because it's like, if they fought to like a draw in this episode, well, then that line doesn't make, and the line still doesn't make any sense, honestly.
No.
The line only makes sense if the last time he saw him, he was a Padawan. But you can kind of make it make sense if the last time they saw them, Obi-Wan, beat his ass. Which is what happens. Obi-Wan just barrages it, just like a barrage of like boulders, just smashes him down, has him down where he could have killed him, but that would not be the Jedi way. And so he steps away. And again, that's the final climactic moment of the fan edit, and it's way better than the final climactic moment of the show, which is Reva on Tatooine.
Oh, God.
I want to talk about the Vader Obi-Wan fight before we go to that.
Oh, okay.
That
I'm sorry.
fight
go ahead.
is something else. And I kept thinking about what you mentioned during our Empire Strikes Back episode, where you have Vader constantly throwing things at Luke, and here you have Obi-Wan just hitting Vader with rocks over and over and over again just to wear him down. And I'm just like, this is great. I mean, it is such an epic
There's a
duel.
symmetry. There's a symmetry to it, as George Lucas would say, it's like poetry, it rhymes.
Like, there's one scene where Obi-Wan literally lifts up like 20 rocks behind him and just starts throwing them at him.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was really good. I liked it way better than, I think a lot of people like their duel from episode 3, which I think is awful. God, it's terrible.
Remember it.
You don't remember it? It's like 40 minutes of the damn movie.
There's like lava. There's like robots, and they go on catwalks, and there's all sorts.
They're jumping on the backs of flying droids.
I think I've only seen that movie twice in my life too, and the last time I saw it was before Force Awakens came out, and I haven't watched it since. And someday. It's not on my list.
But it's the thing, and people are like, oh, it's a really cool fight. It's like, no, it's not. It's a really bad fight, and this is much better. It was well choreographed.
I think this will go down as one of the top fights from now on, because it was really good.
There is something I never thought about, and I was listening to a podcast where they were kind of talking about the show, and they mentioned something I never noticed before. But in the original Star Wars trilogy, the lightsabers don't give off a lot of light because they couldn't. Because in the reality of that show, they were just sticks.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't give off a lot of light. And then in the prequels, they just are a lot of light. And especially in episode 2, when Anakin fights Dooku and it just becomes a light show where you can't even see their bodies or anything. You see the flashing lights. And it was for an artistic purpose, I guess, but it was bad. And that's just become, in this show, the lightsabers are so bright, they're like washing out everything. Where if they're having a fight in the dark, you can barely see what's happening. And that was my one complaint about this, was they should have had the fight in daylight so you could actually see them moving around a little bit. But that's a minor complaint. I still thought it was good. And I like that part of him smashing with the rocks, breaking his mask. I thought that's a really good imagery to have. Yeah. He's half Vader, he's half Anakin. But that part of Anakin is damaged,
Yeah, and the way the voice malfunctions, so it goes into his voice and James Earl Jones' voice, etc. And it was a nice touch. It was a subtle touch.
Yeah, that's a good point. The voices wavering back and forth between the two.
Yeah, the dark and the light, basically.
Because that's a thing that Obi-Wan and Luke had disagreed about, right? Obi-Wan had insisted in the beginning of Return of the Jedi or early in Return of the Jedi, he had insisted Anakin's dead, Vader is completely replaced him, and Luke had insisted, no, there's good in him, I can help him, I can bring him back. And that was a really important, I think that's a really important theme of Return of the Jedi, is the idea of redemption, and that you don't give up on people, right? And that's the truth. The truth of the light side is that you can use finding good in people, right? And I thought that's really good, because we have to see Obi-Wan get to that point of no longer being able to see him as Anakin. And I felt like they did a good job there at the end of that fight with that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Which is, again, why I felt like that should have been the end of the show. But still.
I also like the fact that he hits it with the hilt of the lightsaber. He hits the chest piece too first, and then people were also making the comment that the fact that where he hits him on the head is the same spot where he has a scar in Return of the Jedi now, when you see him later on. So they're like, oh, see, this is where he did it. I'm like, I don't care, but that's fine.
Well,
I mean, that's fine.
Didn't bother me.
No.
Like other things do.
That's fine. That's whatever.
It wasn't an issue for me. Like it could.
Right. But that kind of brings us to what I think is probably the worst thing in the entire series, is Reva going from her arc of working with Obi-Wan to kill Vader and failing to, okay, well, anyway, now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to
kill his son.
I'm going to kill his son. I figured out it's his son from very vague information, but sure. I'm going to kill his son, I guess, because as revenge for him killing the younglings. I can't kill him, but I can kill his son. Is that what her thought process is?
Yes, pretty much. I can.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's stupid. But she's a bad character.
But then she's not going to. No, I don't think she's a bad character until this part, and then it's just.
They didn't know what to do with her.
It's introducing. It's like a second climax to the show, and it's it's very underwhelming.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's after the big duel, like you said, that's supposed to be the emotional release of the show, and then to have this little, I don't know, this little side quest at the end, it just doesn't make much sense dramatically.
No, it really felt tacked on. It really felt tacked on. And then I was not a fan of Owen and Beru just like commando defending their homestead. It's man, they really get like I guess they really lose their edge by A New Hope.
Yeah, which I guess they really lose their edge like 8 years later.
Yeah, well, I think I shared a cartoon with you guys where it showed them like just like massacre the stormtroopers.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, all right, well, we better go hide. Hopefully, Luke will find us. And so, implying that they didn't actually die.
Right.
I like that one though.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, that actually would be much better.
It would, I guess, it would make sense that they have some training because it's like a frontier town and supposedly the Tusken Raiders are on the edge. But to have both of them be like super commandos, and they're moisture farmers. They're not special forces.
Yeah, but
and Owen is super opposed to fighting also.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't do that. I mean, they held their own, but they didn't do that great against Reva. But she wasn't really trying to kill them, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was. I didn't have a problem with it, but I get where you're coming from. I also like how it connects that this is why he's scared of the Tusken Raiders too, because they attacked at this time. So I was okay with that.
Yeah, and he never sees Reva. He never sees right. He never sees them.
No, because he falls, gets knocked out. Reva's about to kill him, and then instead of killing him, she picks him up and brings him back to the settlement, and decides to start. Well, Obi-Wan tells her to start her life over, pretty much.
Yeah,
and we'll never see her again. No, I bet she'll show up in
something soon.
I think we had talked about.
And then that's about.
She's going to be on an alternate cover of a comic next month.
And then I think the next part of the show is about to leave. Oh, he leaves this cave that he was hiding at in the first episode where that was his home, and then he ends up bringing a frickin'. He brings the bag. He fixed the tea hopper. He brings it to Owen, and then he's about to drop it off, and then Owen said, "Would you want to meet the boy?" Which
there's
there's
a few other things between that. So after the thing with Reva, it goes to Mustafar, and Vader talks to Palpatine and tells him, "Oh, don't worry, I don't care about Kenobi anymore. I'm loyal to you," and that's it. And then we get the whole thing on Alderaan where he brings back the droid,
which I don't like because I don't think he should be making himself that. That's what I was going to earlier. He shouldn't be making himself that scene on Alderaan in front of everybody.
Yeah,
it's bad OPSEC.
They could have still done it and not done it the way they did it. Is the thing. They could have had Leia turns around and he's walked out of the shadows in her room. Right. He's snuck in to give her the droid back, and then he leaves. Instead of oh no, I'm going to land on this pad. We're going to have a big formal meeting. She even thinks she's dressed up. She thinks that they're meeting some more cousins or something. It's like a state meeting. There's probably an itinerary. But anyway, and then it goes.
Yeah, you got a point. It's a little suspicious.
And then it goes back to him meeting Luke. And again, the fan edit here just has him talk to Owen and say, "No, you're right. He should get to grow up as a normal boy." And then he leaves. And then it ends with him meeting Qui-Gon.
Well, you have the small scene I have to talk about where he goes to the boy and he gives him the tea hopper and he says, "Hello there." Because earlier when he just says hello, and I know it's a stupid thing, but it still made me really laugh to hear him say, "Hello there."
It did make me laugh. It should have come at a different time.
But they could have done it way earlier. They could have done it when the Jawa came and told him he needed to have soap. He should turn like, "Hello there." I mean, they could have done it any other time, but it was fine.
I'm okay with it that he said the line. I mean, it was for us. And as a guy who just watched A New Hope for earlier, not too long, a few months ago for the show, and then forgetting that the first thing Obi-Wan ever says is "hello there." I thought they were just always making a reference to what he says in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, that too. But Revenge of the Sith is the main one. People are like, "Hello there, General Kenobi."
That's his catchphrase. Yeah, a very common.
Which I did not realize it was from A New Hope. I thought it was only from Revenge of the Sith. I didn't realize it's his catchphrase. Because I think we covered
this in our New Hope episode. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that. I thought it was great, just a little thing. And then I like him going off into the mountains, and then he sees Qui-Gon, and he's like, "I've been here the whole time." Because throughout the show, we had mentioned this. He's talking to Qui-Gon. He's like, "Qui-Gon, I wish I could talk to you. Like, I need your advice what to do." And he's like, "I've been here the whole time. You just couldn't see me." I like that.
And there's something. So that's the thing. So at the end of episode 3. Yoda tells Obi-Wan, oh, by the way, Qui-Gon can be a Force ghost, and you need to meet with him so he can teach you how to be a Force ghost, so that in episode 6, you'll show up as a Force ghost. I mean, episode 5, you can show up as a Force ghost to tell Luke to find me on Dagobah. He doesn't say all that, but that's why that's there.
Right, yeah.
Because Star Wars can never leave anything to be a mystery or unexplained. Everything has to be explained. And so they had to have that here so that at the end you could be like, oh, okay, so now he's going to hang out with Force Ghost Qui-Gon so he can learn how to be a Force Ghost later, whatever.
I have a hard time thinking that it took him 10 years to activate Qui-Gon, because I felt like that's one of the first things he would have done.
Well,
maybe.
I feel like he probably wasn't trying for most of those 10 years, because it seems like he's given up on being a Jedi. He's put that stuff out. And we see him start talking to Qui-Gon once he's on this quest.
Yeah, it really did feel like his whole plan was just to hide out and wait for Luke to grow up so he could train Luke.
Yeah. And then I feel like the end of the show, again, I don't think he should have met up with Luke at the end, but him meeting with Owen and telling him, no, you're right, he deserves to grow up a normal life instead of because he has realized, like, the last time I tried to train a Jedi, I created a mass genocide. So maybe I should, not train Jedi anymore. And then that makes sense. In A New Hope, Luke is way past the age that he should have been trained, to the point that Yoda doesn't even want to train him in Empire. And so it makes sense. I thought that was fine. Him meeting with Qui-Gon in the desert was like, it's fine. It's the last 30 seconds of the show. It's whatever.
I liked it because
It didn't
I
bother
thought
me.
it was a good thing to have.
It didn't bother me. And, a lot of people feel like, God, what is his name? The actor that plays Qui-Gon.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson should have been Obi-Wan in episode 1, and Ewan McGregor should have been Anakin. Would have been better casting and story. And I agree. And it kind of sucks that Qui-Gon got murked in his first movie, because I feel like he could have been a good addition to the Star Wars universe. So I'm happy to see Liam Neeson get a paycheck here.
I know there were rumors before we got to episode 6 that they were going to keep this show, that they were going to change the ending till we get a season 2. I hope we do not get a season 2. This needs to be the end of
No.
And nothing Obi-Wan again, except for there's one Rebel scene with Obi-Wan, which makes perfect sense, but I'm not going to spoil. And then we get to episode 4, and that's how it should be.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there should not be another season of this. And I don't think there will be. They definitely did not leave it open to one.
Yeah.
I could see them having a spinoff about Reva before I could see them having another Obi-Wan series. I don't think they will, though. I could see her show up in the Ahsoka series, maybe.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Which I assume the fans liked Reva, and what I'm reading is that they didn't. So
No, oh God.
No, a lot of people.
I shouldn't have assumed that.
There was a barrage of racism immediately.
I was saying, hey, she's black and a woman. How dare she?
Right.
Yeah, I forgot how bad the Star Wars fan base can be.
They're terrible.
Ewan McGregor had to record a video about how sickened he was by this stuff, and it only been the first 2 episodes that it aired. It was so bizarre and sad, but I guess we should have seen it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I could see not liking her character after the first episode, but still, I thought she was good. I thought that she had a good arc in the show.
Well, yeah, the same thing happened to Rose. Like, people don't like the character, so they assume, it's the actor's fault. And if you're a woman and a minority, then it's your doubly at fault.
Yeah, Rose Tycho is one of the few things I like about that.
Right.
About that Last Jedi.
I don't have a problem with her character. I feel like that the last turn of the character in episode 6 is dumb, but I feel like her character is fine, and the performance is good. I don't have anything wrong with her performance, and I hope she goes on to do lots of other.
Oh, I thought the actress was great.
Yeah, Moses Ingram, I think is her name. Yeah, I'm sure this will get her good roles.
I hope she gets some work out of this, because I thought she was a good actress.
Yeah,
and I actually like the character. God, I could even see, throw her in Fallen Order 2. Yeah. That's coming soon. Probably not soon enough for her to be in.
Well, Fallen Order 2 will take place way before this, most likely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Fallen Order is
5
after episode 3, which should be 7 years before this happens.
Yeah, the first Fallen Order is, but I mean, we don't know what the second Fallen Order is going to be like. But yeah, you're right though.
Because they can only do so much with that character, because he doesn't show up in A New Hope or any of that stuff. He was never mentioned in Rebels. He's never mentioned anything. So they have to kind of make sure they put him away probably in some way. Like, there's a scene in Rebels where they introduce a very prominent character from the Star Wars mythology, and they put him away at the end of Rebels, because if you had him
Right.
Episode
right.
4 never would have happened because this person would have just figured it all out and just stopped them before it happened, and the Rebels would have been done. So they do stuff like that. So that's what I'm assuming is going to happen with Cal at some point. Whatever the hell his name is.
No, you're right.
And again, watch damn Rebels, guys. Come on now.
It's just that is something I wanted to. I did want to also mention is I do feel like there's some Star Wars that's for kids and there's some that's more all ages. And this I felt like was trying to be all ages, but was very kiddie a lot.
Right.
And one of the reasons I think is very kiddie is because a lot of it that it's almost like if Disney wants to make Star Wars and they want to have like a canon, they maybe shouldn't make the cartoons and video games and the comic books canon, because there's a certain way you write a movie and there's a certain way you write a cartoon. And there's a certain amount of logic that people expect in a movie that they don't necessarily expect in a cartoon. And I don't mean animated, because you have adult-oriented animation that has really good writing. But typically cartoons, they're directed at little kids. And so they're not necessarily worried about logic as much as a movie should be. And I feel like when you make things that happen in video games, far more so, right? Video games have to really stretch logic for gameplay purposes, right? And I feel like when you make things, and this has been a Star Wars problem for a long time, honestly, but when you make things that are for a good example of this, the MCU, right? The MCU is its own canon. And so it can pull little references here and there from the comics and the cartoons, but it doesn't have to be beholden to them. But this has to be beholden to them. And like you were saying, Grand Inquisitor has to come back because he's in Rebels. It's a lot of little stuff like that I feel like definitely detracts, and that's to me a little bit.
I guess I hadn't thought about it that way, but that does make a lot of sense. It's like how much of a corner are you building yourself into with all these properties that are supposed to tell the same story and it's all supposed to make sense?
Yeah, I mean that was a problem before Disney took over. With Lucas, would make the Lucas. They had like what they called like the Jedi Holocron, which was a person whose job at Lucasfilm was to maintain the canon.
Yeah. And
they would make all the video game stuff canon. And so it's like, but that doesn't make sense, right? Like having there be like, especially like Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic, they made a +5, you're having your lightsaber be a +5, but things like that D&D stuff canon, it's like, oh, these type of kyber crystals are more powerful than these type. And oh, these fighting styles, and oh, there's consulars, and it's all that kind of stuff. It just muddies the waters, and I think that's why Marvel, Marvel, which is also owned by Disney, has the right way of it. Is have the MCU is one canon, and the comics are a different canon, and the cartoons are they're all their own, and they're separated. And now they're blending them a little bit more with the multiverse stuff. But I don't know. I feel like Star Wars would really be benefited from not making children's properties the same canon as, I don't want to say adult, because there's no Star Wars that's for adults. It's all for, but some of it is more all ages. Like Mandalorian is not made for little kid,
No.
Rogue One is not for little kids. You can show a kid Rogue One. I mean, my son loves Rogue One, right? But it's not the same as Rebels or Clone Wars. But anyway, I don't know. That's not a fully formed argument. It's just a thought that I've had watching this show. It occurred to me a little bit more.
Also with Star Wars, like with the comics, for example, like the reason why they connect everything is because it's a great way to market it more and to get you into other properties of Star Wars instead of because the Star Wars comics that sell the best are the ones that were like the Marvel Star Wars comics when they brought that back was that's a continuation of what happens after Episode 4 leading into Episode 5. That's what the whole run ends up going. It goes all the way there, then they have another run that goes from Episode 5, I think, to 6. Does not include Shadows of the Empire. Weird, but that's what they're working on right now, I think. I don't read them anymore, unfortunately, but I want to at some point.
Yeah, I collected comics growing up and all that, and was really into comics. And one thing I've taken away from them is that there's just too many comics. So comics I feel like comics are great. I love comics. 1 out of 50 comic book stories are coherent and good. And then most of it is just like kind of outlandish craziness. And it's that's fine because it's its own medium. But that's another reason why I kind of feel like don't make them canon, make them, pull from them. And again, like MCU does, I feel like.
It's mainly just Star Wars that really does it. Everything else kind of has their own fiction and doesn't as continue as together as much.
Oh yeah, definitely.
last thing you guys want to say about Obi-Wan before we go to shelf stacker box?
I say let's go to it, personally.
Yep.
Okay, and Peter, what about you? Shelf stacker box.
Well, as with a heavy heart did I say, you should keep it in your stack, Wait, which one's, is it the box? I put it in the box, I don't know what the criteria is.
Low one, yes.
Just, look, it was fine to watch it once, but I wouldn't revisit it. So whatever one that is, it's too, it has elements that I like in it, but it's becoming more, as there are more and more of these TV series and there's more streaming pseudo movies, it just all kinds of blends together for me. And I want to see do something original or something coherent, and this doesn't do it for me. I liked the performances. I liked some of the scenes and some of the set pieces, but overall, it was just kind of too bland, too straightforward, too like everything else that's saturating the streaming market these days. And I didn't appreciate it that much. So
was it better than Book of Boba Fett?
It was, but not many grades better in my opinion. It was
Okay.
It was better that it focused. Obi-Wan is a good character, and Ian McGregor is a far more engaging performer than Tamir Morrison as Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll give it that. Yeah.
Okay, and what about you, Kerry?
Yeah, what I would say is put this in the box, put the fan edit in the stack, not necessarily on the shelf. I think if you're going to revisit this eventually, the fan edit is a way better way to do it. You still get the same story, but with a lot of the crap kind of cut out. I did like it overall. It was one of those things where like the further, while I was actually watching it, I was mostly enjoying it. And then then afterward thinking back on it, I was like, but that was dumb. Well, they didn't need that part. Well, that was dumb. I was checking my phone a lot during that part. It's kind of that. So yeah, I mean, it's better than Book of Boba Fett mostly, but not a lot better, honestly. It's I would put it on a similar level to Book of Boba Fett, but a little better because it doesn't have the the neutrino gang or that kind of stuff. But it's still, again, we talked about the stuff we really liked. I would say, yeah, watch the fan edit, play Fallen Order, better story, definitely.
Okay, I'll go last. I'm actually going to put this on the shelf. I really liked the show, and then when I rewatched it again for this episode, I enjoyed it a lot. Again, even though I couldn't see a couple times because that was not the show's fault. That's because my room is very lit up when I was watching this. But I really enjoyed it. I think I even enjoyed this maybe more than Mandalorian season 1. Like, I really like this show.
Ooh.
I did. I mean, but I think it's just more that it really echoed to me. I love the way that Leia's portrayed, and I just really enjoyed seeing all this. And to me, it was just amazing. Like, I just really, really enjoyed it. But I get it. I mean, you guys both have very valuable complaints that make sense. It just, it spoke to me for some reason. So I'm glad we watched it.
Interesting.
I'm glad that we covered it. So yeah, it's going on the shelf, and I would be recommending this to everybody.
I would definitely not tell people to not watch it once. I would just say, don't watch it twice.
Right.
I'm actually going to watch it a third time.
It's definitely worth it.
When I get back from my trip, I'm going to try to get my wife to watch this because she was interested, but she doesn't like to watch them until they finish. But I'm 100% going to watch this a third time.
I recommend the fan edit for a rewatch. I think the fan edit did a good job of kind of paring it down.
And
I also really like Wayne McGregor a lot.
Tiffany's not
I like Ewan McGregor a lot.
Right?
I know. I know she's not, but I'm going to try anyway.
I do like Ewan McGregor a lot.
Right.
I was glad to see, I mean, he is easily my favorite thing about the prequels. I don't like the prequels that much, but he's, I think, the best part of them. So I like that he gets a chance to be back in Star Wars.
Same.
I wish that Solo had done really well, and so he had gotten his movie instead of a series. I felt like the movie would have been better, but
I wish
what
Solo
if-
would have done better too. But I will be saying that for a long time, I'm sure. I can't wait till we cover that. Oh, right. And if you want to hear more Star Wars, well, I'll just go start doing what I do every episode for some reason. We have Star Wars The Last Command, Comic 37. Star Wars A New Hope, Film 29. Star Wars Dark Force Rising, Comic 36. Star Wars Book of Boba Fett, TV 4. Star Wars Heir to the Empire, Comic 34. Star Wars The Mandalorian, Season 1, TV 2. Star Wars Dark Empire 2, Comic 30. Star Wars Dark Empire, Comic 27. Star Wars Force Unleashed, Episode 115. Star Wars The Mandalorian, Season 2, TV 1. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, Episode 87. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Part 1, Part 2, Episode 69. Star Wars Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, Comic 6. Star Wars Shadow of the Empire, Comic 48. No, Episode 48, what am I saying? Star Wars Holiday Special, Film 6. Star Wars Republic Commando, Episode 21. Star Wars Dark Forces, Episode 13. So, yeah. by the time you hear this, there's actually 20 Star Wars episodes up because Empire Strikes Back will already be up, and then Obi-Wan comes out shortly after that for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask about it when Empire was going up.
Yeah, because actually Star Wars comes out Empire Strikes Back I'm releasing a couple days after we record this, and Obi-Wan's going to come out on August 17th is my plan. So
Awesome.
when you're hearing this is August, so yeah, you had a month to listen to also that one.
Awesome.
That's my order of stuff at the moment. Okay, and that's, I think... Oh, wait, and Peter, where can people find you at?
You can look me up online and find my book, The Fifth Civilization, which is the first of a trilogy. If you like Star Wars, and if you like Kenobi or any sci-fi property, I bet you'll like it too. So check out The Fifth Civilization, available now.
I also want to say The Fifth Civilization, I'm really liking it. It gives me a big Expanse vibes also.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like I mean, it's got a lot of it's its own thing for sure. But especially at the beginning, I was just like, oh, this is really making me think of The Expanse. So
that's high praise.
That is definitely a compliment. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. Definitely recommend people check that out.
Well, thank you.
If I could find my copy, I would read it. I can't find my copy.
Of course. Someday you'll find it.
No, I actually been meaning to. I've been like, I really should read the book that my oldest friend that I have, that we met when we were like 7 or so, or 5. Like, I should read the book he wrote one day.
Get it on Kindle. I got it on Kindle.
Okay, maybe I'll do that. I don't use Kindle, but I could. I have a tablet.
Someday.
And Kerry, where can people find you at?
Hey, so I'm Kerooseta, Kerooseta on Twitch mostly. I'm everywhere on that, but I'm there on Twitch. I play a lot of Dark Souls and Dark Souls type games, and I also modify and repair video game consoles on there. So you can check me out. I don't post super often, but that's where you can find me.
All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find all our episodes on podbean.com. If you can't find what you're looking for on Spotify or iTunes, we only go back about 100 episodes, and we have over 350. I love saying that. I really like saying that. So definitely go check everything out there. You will find comics, movie reviews, game reviews. You'll find TV, all sorts of stuff. We cover tons of things in this podcast. Whatever the hell I want to cover, and I can find volunteers. Pretty much is how this show works. And I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Hatsphere. You can follow her on TikTok. Definitely go check her out. She made our music. And want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who started his own podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40. It's where he interviews people about how games affected their life and has a lot of good memories that people bring up and talk about a lot of games and about how gaming affected him too. So definitely go check him out. It's a very well done podcast. And please follow us on Patreon. We have a Patreon for every month. We have a different Patreon poll. You can vote in there for as little as $1, and you can help affect what goes on the show. So please go do that and help me. It makes me so happy too. So please go vote and sign up for that just for $1. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. Audio only, but we are on YouTube. Usually within a week of the episode recording, I get it up there. Sometimes same day. Varies on me, but it's all there for you. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
May the Force be with you.